So we started with portfolio management in last class, and we did first reading, and now we are moving on to reading 23 and 24. In reading 23, they tell you about yield curve strategies. That is, what is yield curve, how does it move, what can be possible yield curve strategies. And then in next reading, that is 24, they apply those strategies or tell you the application of those strategies in portfolio management. That how are those strategies used in portfolio management, or how do they impact or affect the decision making. Starting with basic concept or foundational concept for yield curve strategies. There are three primary forms of yield curve. Again, something repeated from level 1, you would already know: par curve, spot curve, and forward curve. Par curve is the curve for bonds, par values. Spot curve is the curve for spot rates. Forward curve is the curve for forward rates. What we mean by curve is that when we say curve, it means we are plotting some interest rate here, and we are plotting some maturity here. So what is the rate for first year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, and so on. Problems, and generally yield curve would be upward sloping. Why? Because generally the longer the maturity, the higher is your rate. So generally it is upward sloping, not always, but generally it is. Problems with modeling yield curve is unsynchronized observations of various maturities on the curve. That means various maturities might not be synchronized. So for example, maybe for this maturity this is the rate, for this maturity this, and then this, and moving like this. Gaps in maturities that require interpolation. So you may not have rates available for all the maturities. You may have for this one, and then this one, and in between you will have to interpolate or smooth out. Observations that seem inconsistent with neighboring values. So one of the observations can be inconsistent with the other value. Differences in accounting or regulatory treatment of certain bonds that may look that may make them look like outliers. So maybe there is some bond here, some bond here. So due to these reasons, modeling yield curve is challenging or difficult. Moving on, yield curve dynamics. So when we talk about strategies for active yield curve management, generally we are talking about the strategy that we should take, or the decision that we should take when yield curve changes. And what do we mean by change in yield curve? The change or movement in yield curve can be of three types. It can be a change in level, that is upward shift or downward shift. It can be a change in slope, that is flattening or steepening. So level would be that if this is the curve and it shifts up, this is change in level, or shifts down, change in level. But if it becomes steeper, or if it becomes flatter, this is change in slope or change in curvature. That is, if there is a curve, then it has some curvature. It is turning around, so it has some curvature. So change in that curvature is known as the curvature. And a common measure for curvature is butterfly spread. Moving on, yield curve slope. What is the slope? Slope tells you that how steep or flat the curve is, and one way of calculating slope is that you take yield on long-term maturity bond and you subtract yield on short maturity bond. The spread between these two will give you an idea about the slope, that how much is the slope. Most of the times this yield spread is positive. Why? As we discussed, because yield most of the times for higher maturity is higher. So if yield for higher maturity is greater and yield for shorter maturity is lower, then this spread will be positive, or this slope will be positive, but not always. A common measure of yield curve is curvature is the butterfly spread. What is butterfly spread? This is minus short term yield plus 2 into medium term yield minus long term yield. That is, you take three yields, one at short term, one at medium term, and one at longer term, and then you take this yield with a minus sign, you take this yield and multiply it by 2, and then take this yield with a minus sign. So effectively what you are doing is you are multiplying this by 2 and subtracting this long and short. This will tell you butterfly spread, and it will tell you how curve is your graph, or is your yield graph. Higher curvature, larger butterfly. So if this is giving you a higher value, that means it is more curve, and if it is giving you lower value, that means the difference between these and these is lower, so that will be less curve. Now these changes in yield curve, or these movements, are also interlinked with each other. So for example, if there is an upward shift in level, yield curve typically flattens and become less curve. And if there is a downward shift in level, the yield curve typically steepens and becomes more curve. So all these movements are also linked. So maybe if level is changing, that can impact curvature, or that can impact slope, or if slope or curvature is changing, that can impact level. And one of the reasons for this link is that short-term rates are more volatile than long-term rate. So change in short-term rate might be higher and change in long-term rates might be lower. That may change or impact the slope of the yield curve. Moving on, duration and convexity. So you already know what is duration. Duration is change in value or change in price with respect to change in yield or change in interest rate or change in some kind of benchmark rate. What is so duration is known as first order effect. That is how much will the price change if yield changes, and duration assumes a linear relationship between price and interest rate. But in general or in reality, the relationship is not linear. The relationship is in the form of a curve. And when we have curve, that means there is some curvature. And when we have curvature, that means just checking out the duration is not enough, but we will need to check out for this curve or this curvature as well. And how do we capture it? We capture it using convexity. So convexity is the second order effect. So convexity is second order effect, and duration is first order. And duration assumes linear relationship. Moving on with types of duration, Macaulay duration. It is analogous to a bond's effective maturity. It is the average time to receive bonds promise payments. The present value of each payment to be received is weighted by the present value of all future payments. So Macaulay duration is simply dependent on the life of the bond. If I ask you what is the Macaulay duration of a 5-year zero coupon bond, you will say 5. Modified duration provides a direct measure of the relationship between change in bond yield and percentage change in price. You are linking price with change in bonds yield, and its formula is Macaulay duration divided by 1 plus yield to maturity. Effect at higher coupon levels, estimation error may be more substantial if the bond has significant accrued interest. So if you have more coupons, then the calculations will become more complex and there can be more estimation errors. Effective duration is sensitivity of bond price with change in benchmark yield curve. So both of these look similar. The difference is here you are estimating the change in price with respect to bonds own yield, and here you are estimating the change in price with respect to the benchmark yield curve, that is interest rate curve, and not the bonds own yield. That is the basic difference between modified and effective duration. And effective duration is useful in cases when bond has embedded option. Why? Because if a bond has embedded option, its cash flow pattern can change depending on the interest rate. That is, if benchmark interest rate changes, its cash flow pattern can change. If interest rates go low, then there might be call option might be exercised. If interest rates increase, then call option might not be exercised or put option may be exercised. So that is the reason why effective duration is useful in cases when bond has an embedded option, because it will check the sensitivity or estimate the sensitivity against yield curve, which can impact, and yield curve can impact the cash flows of bond with embedded option. Key rate durations. So far we are talking about the overall duration, that is one duration for the whole yield curve or for the whole investment horizon. However, durations can differ at different points. So duration for 2 years may be different, duration for 5 years may be different. So estimating this particular duration at a specific maturity is known as key rate duration. And if you sum up all the key rates duration, that should give you the similar value as total duration. Money duration. Key rate duration help identify shaping risk. Why? Because if shape of the yield curve is changing, your simple duration measure will not be able to capture it. Why? Because it is giving the same weightage to all the, or it is assuming that the duration at all the levels is, or all the maturity is the same. But that impact can be captured by key rate duration, because key rate duration for each maturity will be different. So for example, if I tell you this is your yield curve and now it shifts like this. So if you are using normal duration measure, it will assume that yield curve shifts like this. So when you apply same duration across all the maturities, it will give you the change in value of portfolio, assuming change in value of portfolio will be calculated assuming that yield at all the levels or the duration as all the levels was same. However, in reality, it was not. In reality, yields have changed higher here, and the change was higher here, and change was lower here. So in that case, if you are using a different duration at each level, at each different level, then you will be able to capture the complete impact of this change in shape and shift in yield curve. So key rate durations help identify shaping risk for a bond portfolio, that is sensitivity to changes in shape of the benchmark curve. While other duration measures will not be focusing on shape, they will be assuming a parallel shift in yield curve. Money duration, simply if you multiply your duration with the price, then it or if you calculate, so far in duration measures we are calculating change in price as a percentage or in percentage terms. If you calculate it in money terms or dollar terms, that is known as money duration. And specifically if you are calculating it in US dollar, then it is also called dollar duration. The price value of a basis point. So if I have to find out that how much will the price change if yield changes by 1 bp, that is known, that change in value is known as, or the change in price is known as price value of a basis point. And if I have PV BP, I can simply multiply it by the number of bips change to get the, or magnitude of change in bips to get the total impact on the price. Again, this was also discussed in previous class. Simple. Duration, you know, is first order effect. We have discussed it. Convexity is a second order effect. If you have positive convexity, then bond price increases more if interest rate decreases than the duration estimate would suggest. So that means if you have positive convexity, bond price will increase more if interest rate decrease compared to duration measure. So for example, if interest rate is decreasing and duration measure is telling you that bond price should increase by $5, in positive convexity, actual increase would be, let's say, $5.5 or $6 or whatever. Why? Because that difference in curve and the duration linear line would be captured in convexity. Similarly, if bond price decrease, bond decrease in bond price is less if interest rate increases compared to duration estimate suggestion. This is in positive convexity. If this is negative convexity, opposite of this will happen. Bond with higher convexity might be expected to have lower yield than a similar bond with less convexity. As volatility of interest rate increases, convexity becomes more valuable. Remember this point, this will keep on coming up again and again, and this will come in detail in next reading. But for now, remember it that if volatility of interest rate increases, convexity becomes more valuable. Why is that so, or what is the impact on portfolio value, that we will discuss in next reading. For now, just remember it. Investors bid up prices for long maturity bonds long at off curve decline. So just remember this point and we will discuss it in detail in next reading. For zero coupon bonds, Macaulay durations increase linearly with maturity, higher duration. Convexity is proportional to duration spread, that is a 30-year zero coupon bond has approximately 9 times convexity of 10-year zero coupon bond. So if your duration is increasing, your convexity will increase, and the relationship is approximate. The relationship is the square of duration. So for example, if there is a 30-year zero coupon bond and there is a 10-year zero coupon bond, what is the duration of 10-year zero coupon bond? 10, and duration of 30-year is 30. That means its duration is 3 times higher. Duration is 3 times the 10-year zero coupon bond. So convexity would be 3 squared, that is 9 times of convexity of 10-year zero coupon bond. Coupon paying bonds have more convexity than zero coupon bonds of the same duration, and it is very obvious why. Because in coupon paying bonds you are exposed to more risk due to in coupon paying bonds you are receiving the coupons that are being reinvested, and any change in interest rate would impact those reinvestment returns as well. A portfolio's convexity can be altered by shifting the maturity or duration distribution of bonds in the portfolio. So how do you change convexity? You can change convexity by shifting maturity or duration distribution. That is, for example, keeping more bonds in short term or keeping more bonds in long term, or keeping more bonds at a specific maturity. Adding physical bonds with desired convexity properties. So if you want to add convexity or increase convexity, you may add bonds that have higher convexity. If you want to decrease convexity, you may add bonds that have lower convexity. Using derivatives. Again, all this will come in detail in next reading. This is just an introduction, but remember these points so that it is easier in next reading. So this reading is primarily setting out the context, and then the application or details will come in next reading. Major types of yield curve strategies. There are two most obvious strategies to enhance yield: maturity extension and buying lower credit securities. What is maturity extension? If you are buying bonds with higher maturity, they may give you higher yield, so your yield will be enhanced. If you are buying lower credit quality bonds, like for example high yield bonds or junk bonds, they would give you, or non-investment grade bond, they would give you a higher yield. Active strategies may differ depending on assumptions related to yield curve. So depending on your assumption whether yield curve is stable or moving, your strategies will differ. Again, will come in detail in next reading, but here is we have an introduction. Active strategies under assumption of stable yield curve. So if you assume that yield curve will be stable, what is the strategy that you take? You take buy and hold strategy, or roll down strategy, or sell convexity, or the carry trade. If you have activist, if you assume that the yield curve will move, or there will be movement of level, slope, or curvature, you have duration management, buy convexity, and bullet and barbell structures. From all of this, we will discuss it in detail shortly, but from all of this, remember this: you will sell convexity or want to reduce convexity when you have a when you expect a stable yield curve, and you will buy convexity or add convexity when you assume or when you expect change in level, slope, or curvature. So this is a very important point. Remember this, and remember other strategies as well. Moving into the details of these strategies. Tools to enhance portfolio return. So how do you enhance portfolio return? Some tools that you can use is duration adjustment. For example, if you expect that in future prices will go down, in future interest rates will go down, that means prices will go up. So you may increase the duration of your portfolio. If duration is higher, change in price will be higher. Leverage, that is taking leverage. If you think that your return will be higher than cost of borrowing, you may take leverage. Sector weightings, that is, for example, if you think that one of the sectors would outperform the other, you may increase weight or overweight that sector. And convexity, that is, for example, if you assume that, or if you expect there will be changes in shape and level of yield curve, you may buy convexity or add convexity. And if you think that there will be if you think that the yield curve will be stable, then you may sell convexity. So these are the tools that you can use to enhance portfolio return. Application of these strategies depend on several factors. That is investment mandate. You should be allowed to do all of this. If you are not allowed or restricted from doing using any tool, then you cannot use it. Investment guidelines imposed by the owner regarding duration, credit quality, geographic constraints, turnover, concentration. Investment managers' expectations regarding future yield curve moves. So if you expect that yields will go up or interest rate will go up, then you may want to reduce duration. If you expect rates to go down, you may want to increase the duration. Cost of being wrong. So if your expectation does not prove right, then how much losses you may have to you may see. What is the magnitude of losses that you may see? Whether measured as outright loss, poor relative performance, client loss, or reputation impairment. So we divided the strategies into two broad categories: strategies for assuming a stable yield curve and strategies assuming change in yield curve or movement in yield curve. Now we'll discuss those strategies in detail. So starting with the strategies under assumptions of stable yield. If you think yield curve will be stable, you can use a buy and hold strategy. That is, portfolio is held nearly constant with no active trading during a certain period. So if you do not think any changes in yield curve, then there might not be any use of, or there may not be any abnormal returns from actively managing your portfolio, or you may want to buy and hold the bonds, because you know that characters so you know that everything that is being the current situation will prevail, and everything will remain be the same. So you can use a buy and hold strategy. Now if you think that certain bonds will give you higher return, then you can buy overweight those sectors or those bonds compared to benchmark, or if you think certain bonds will underperform, you may underweight them compared to benchmark. But whatever you buy, you keep you hold it with yourself. Riding the yield curve, that is based on the concept of roll down. As a bond ages, it will decline in yield if the yield curve is upward sloping. The manager is not only accumulating coupon income but is expecting to add returns by selling the security at a lower yield at the horizon. So what this means is that as you reach out the maturity, so let's say there is a bond that have a price of $90 and its par value is $100. So when you move ahead, as it reaches the maturity, it will reach out the par value, and as its price continue to increase in price means decrease in yield to maturity. So this means that towards the end your yield might be declining, or towards the end your yield will continue to decline. So the manager is not only accumulating coupon income but is expecting to add returns by selling the security at a lower yield at the horizon. So what you can do is that if you think that in future the price movements will be negative, so if you think that as of now you are receiving a very good price, in future yields can increase and you may have a lower price for the bond. So let's say your bond is currently based, the price is currently based on the expectation that yield in future will be 5%. If in reality in future yields increase and yields, let's say, go to, so, or yields decrease and let's say yields go to 4%, yields, if in future yields increase and yields, let's say, go to 6%, then your price of the bond will decrease. So that means that you have lost on this bond. So what you can do is, based on your expectations, if you think that in future yields will be going up, you can sell the bond here and get an or book an extra return. So you will be getting coupon. So you will be getting coupon returns. In addition to that, if you think it is favorable to sell it, you can also get a return by selling it or make a profit by selling it. That will depend on your expectations of yield curve. Sell convexity. So as we discussed, if you expect yield curve to be stable, you can sell convexity. If you expect yield curve to be changing, you will buy convexity. And why is that? So this is because usually bond with higher convexity has lower yield, and if yield is expected to remain unchanged, convexity is of little value. So if a bond has higher convexity, it has lower yield. And why would you want to buy a lower yield bond if you have a higher bond available? That is of no use. So if you think that yield curve will remain stable, and if you think keeping this convexity will not give you any abnormal returns, it will only give you higher returns or benefits if there is a change in shape of yield curve, or there is a movement in yield curve. If you think there won't be any movement, it will remain be stable, why would you want to take a lower yield? You can go for a higher yield. So that's why you can remove the convexity. So keeping convexity results in lower yield, which means giving up yield. Therefore, portfolio manager may want to sell the convexity until and unless he thinks that this convexity can give him higher returns, and that would only happen if yield curve moves instead of being stable. How do you sell convexity? To sell convexity, portfolio manager can sell calls on bonds held in portfolio, or he could sell puts on bonds. Option premium received on selling options would augment the yield. So what are we doing it? So what we are doing, what is the disadvantage of keeping convexity? The disadvantage is that I have lower yield. So what am I doing it? I am trying to increase this yield. How am I increasing this yield? I am selling the option. When I sell the option, I will receive premium, and that premium will be a benefit, and that would add to my yield. So this is how I am increasing the yield. This is an acceptable condition if future volatility is expected to remain low. So recall from our earlier discussions, we discussed that if volatility is higher, then keeping convexity is better. But if volatility is lower, then you can remove the convexity. Again, this would come in detail later again. For now, remember these points. Alternatives. So one ways of increasing yield is that you take options. Other alternatives of selling convexity can be taking could be taking exposure to options through callable bonds or through mortgage-backed securities. Another strategy is carry trade. So carry trade is very simple. That is, you buy a security and finance it at a rate that is lower than the yield on that security. So let's say if there is a market A, market B. In market A, a security is available for 5%, and here the borrowing rate is 4%. So you borrow from here and you invest it here. This is carry trade. Carry trade can be risky. Why? Because the portfolios hold longer term securities financed with shorter term securities. So generally, you are financing your investment through shorter term securities, that is, you are borrowing in short term securities, but you are generally investing in longer term securities. So it can be risky because volatility in short term rates can be higher compared to volatility in long term rates. Strategies for changes in market level slope or curvature. So far we have discussed strategies assuming a stable yield curve. Now we are moving on to strategies for changes in market level slope or curvature, that is movement in yield curve. So first strategy is duration management. That is, if you expect that in future yields will go up, that means price will be going down. If price is going down, you will reduce the sensitivity of price to yield, that is, you will reduce the duration. Otherwise, if you expect yields to go down, you will increase the duration. Shorten portfolio duration in anticipation of rising rates and lengthen portfolio duration in anticipation of declining rates. What is the change in price? Change in price is duration multiplied by change in yield. If yield is going up, it will be a negative change. If yield is going down, it will be a positive percentage. For example, if portfolio manager wants to increase duration of current portfolio, so this is current portfolio, he can use two alternatives, alternative 1 or alternative 2. Two alternative portfolios have identical market weighted duration. So current portfolio had duration of 4. Now he has increased this to 6. So he can increase it to 6 using either alternative A or alternative 1 or alternative 2. Both are giving the same market weighted duration. That means both would have the same response to change in yield. But both of these would give the same response if the shift in yield or change in yield is a parallel shift. If it is not a parallel shift, then duration is not enough, or market weighted duration is not enough to capture the impact on portfolio. In that case, if there is a non-parallel shift, both can give you different returns or different values. For example, if long end of yield curve rallied, so let's say the shift is not parallel. Let's say rates at long end decline more than short end. Let's say this was your curve, and now it has shifted down. Rates at long end has declined more compared to short end. So now this will be your curve. Decline at long end is higher and decline at short end is lower. That is, rates at long end decline more than short term, then alternative 2 would outperform alternative 1. So within these, that is alternative 2 and alternative 1. So here the change in rate is, decline in rate is higher. So if decline in rate is higher, that means increase in price here would be higher, and increase in price here at short term would be lower. So from these two portfolios, the portfolio that has more allocation towards long term bonds would outperform the portfolio that has allocation towards short term bond. So assuming that this has least maturity, this has higher, this has higher, this has highest maturity, assuming that alternative 2 is more exposed towards longer end. Let's say the maturity is 1, 2, 3, 4 years. So alternative 2 is more exposed towards longer end. That means alternative 2 will benefit more compared to alternative 1. So in that case, alternative 2 will outperform alternative 1. So based on the expectations of change in yield curve, you should be able to decide you should be able to decide that which portfolio would give you the higher return or which portfolio would give you the lower return. This is duration management. How can you change duration? We discussed in previous classes that the duration can be changed by buying or selling bond, one way, and another way is that you can use derivatives. If you do not want to buy or sell, you can use derivatives. Duration, this is again repetition from previous reading, that is money duration is equal to market value into modified duration. Price value of basis point is equal to money duration divided by 10,000. So in previous class we discussed it in detail, that how do you decide how many number of futures contracts to buy, number of a notional amount of swap to invest into. So all that is being repeated here again. Effective portfolio duration is notional portfolio value divided by portfolio equity multiplied by duration. Although leverage helps increase duration, it adds interest rate risk because it increases the portfolio sensitivity to changes in rate. So if you add leverage, that would increase your duration. Like this is your duration, simple duration. And if you add leverage, that is if your notional portfolio value is higher compared to equity value, then overall effective duration of portfolio will be higher. So the leverage adds risk and leverage increases duration, and so change in price or the loss or gain magnitude can be higher as well. That was first strategy. Assume for changes in or movement in yield curve. Second strategy is buy convexity. So if you expect yield curve to be remain stable, you sell convexity, and if you expect yield curve to move, then you buy convexity. Goal of increasing convexity is to mitigate price declines and enhance price increases resulting from changes in interest rate. What does it mean? So there here is an example. Uh, this is a you have a call option with a bond, and this is your option value. If the options delta is calculated correctly into the duration, what is the delta? Delta is the change in price, measured in absolute price change is calculated correctly into the duration of the portfolio. The rapid change in delta translates into increased portfolio duration as rate declines and prices rise, and into lower duration as prices falls. So what do we mean by this is that if prices are going up, if bond price is increasing, what is the call option? Call option is to buy back the option to buy back the bond at a specific price. So if bond price is increasing, then increase in bond price would mean that there are higher chances of option being exercised, right? Why? Because call option is exercised when price is higher. So if price is increasing, there are more chances of option being exercised, and that means if there are more chances of option being exercised, that means option value is higher. So that means as price increases, option value increases. This is your strike price. So as price increases, option value increases. So and as option value increases, so as it is increasing, option value is increasing, your duration will also increase. Why? Because why would your duration increase? Your duration of portfolio will increase because then your option is becoming valuable, and if option is becoming valuable, that means any small change in interest rate can lead to option being exercised, and when option is exercised, the portfolio value can be change in portfolio value can be higher or significant compared to a straight bond. So as your bond price increases, your duration increases or duration is higher, and as bond price decreases, your duration is lower. Why is duration lower? Because call option loses out value, and as call option loses out value, you have approximately no value towards decrease or a very little value towards decrease. So this means that if you have a call option attached or if you have a callable bond, then in that callable bond, your duration will be high if price is increasing, but your duration will be low if price is decreasing. Is it clear? So the point is that duration will be high if price is increasing, duration will be low when price is decreasing. Any confusion in this point? So okay, so moving forward, this means that if there is an increase in price, that is if there is a decrease in interest rate, if the interest rate or yields are decreasing and price is increasing, if there is a increase in price, your benefit will be higher. Why? Because your duration is high. So benefit will be higher compared to normal scenario or base case scenario. And if there is a decrease in price, your loss will be lower. Why would loss be lower? Because your duration is lower. So as your duration is lower, your overall change in price will be lower. So that means it would give you lower loss when price is decreasing, or in other words, yield is increasing, and it will give you higher benefit when yield is decreasing or price is increasing. So that means keeping convexity. If you have convexity, that can be added through callable bond. If you have convexity, then it will give you higher benefit in the times of rising prices, and it will give you lower loss in the time of falling prices. That means buying convexity or keeping convexity is good. But this would only happen if your yield curve changes. If yield curve does not change, you wouldn't be able to benefit from this or this scenario. So that means if yield curve is stable, convexity is not useful, but rather you will end up having lower yield. So convexity is bad, then you should sell convexity. But if yield curve is expected to move, then you should buy convexity. Why? Because convexity will give you higher benefit in times of increasing prices and lower loss in times of decreasing prices. So this is why we have been discussing from start that you should buy convexity when a movement is expected, and you should sell convexity when yield curve is expected to remain stable. Any confusion so far? This. Yes, so whether it is effective, even if you take what is effective duration, you take effective duration using the, you calculate effective duration. What is the effective duration? Is change in price with respect to change in benchmark yield. So even if you are taking effective duration, by duration I do not mean a specific duration, it means effective duration or any duration that is applicable. So even if you are taking effective duration will be higher for price increase and will be lower for price decrease. Why? Because this options value will come into play if price is increasing, and it wouldn't impact the overall value if price is decreasing. Because if price is decreasing, this option has nothing to do. It will be less, just like a straight bond or normal bond. But if price is increasing, then this option will play its role and it will impact the change in price, because its value is also changing. As price is increasing, you are not only benefiting with increase in price, but you are also benefiting with increase in option value. Options value is also increasing. Higher the price, higher would be the option value. So that is why you should keep convexity or buy convexity when you should buy convexity uh, when you expect movement in yield curve. Bullet and barbell structures, another strategy. It is used to capitalize on non-parallel shifts in yield curve. So bulleted portfolio can be advantageous when yield curve steepens. So if you think that yield curve will steepen, that is, this is the current and this will go up, then that means the if yield curve is steepening, that means that there will be higher loss at this end, but there will be lower loss at this end. Or let's do it other way. Let's say that this is your curve. At both the ends, yields have declined, but yields have declined higher at lower end. So if yields declined here and yields declined here, then in that case, here the return will be lower and here the return will be higher. If steepness is changing, the return at lower end and longer end would be different. So if you have kept all the portfolio or most of the portfolio here, that is a bulleted portfolio, then you will have more benefit. If you have kept more of the portfolio, if you have divided the portfolio across the investment horizon, that is some here, some here, some here, some here, then that would have a lower return. So that means bulleted portfolio can be advantageous when yield curve is steepening. On the other hand, barbells typically used to take advantage of flattening yield curve. What is barbells? Barbells are those in which you have higher investment at short end, higher cash flows at longer end, and lower at medium end. So you are exposed to interest rate risk, higher interest rate risk at shorter and longer end. So if yield curve flattens, then this portfolio can be advantageous, because return at longer end and shorter end will be higher, and loss at the center would be lower. So this return at longer and shorter end would outperform or outweigh the loss at the medium end. So barbells will be better. So based on the expectations of yield curve, you should be able to, another strategy, active strategy could be bullet and barbell portfolio. Moving on, formulating a portfolio positioning strategy given a market view. Requirements for modifying portfolio for anticipated yield curve change as clear understanding of benchmark, understanding client imposed constraints, detailed understanding of current portfolio characteristics, yield forecast, knowledge of the portfolio positioning. So these are the requirements that you need to meet. This is the information and knowledge that you need to clearly understand and clearly have in order for you to apply or modify your in order for you to apply active yield management, yield curve management strategy. Duration positioning in anticipation of a parallel upward shift in the yield curve. So if your forecast is that yield curve will be stable, then what would you do? You would invest into those bonds that have higher duration. And which bonds have higher duration? The longer maturity bonds have higher duration. So that means you should invest in longer maturity bonds for higher return. Why? Because longer the maturity, higher would be the return. If you think that yield curve is stable. However, if you expect shift or increase in yield, so if you expect yield will increase, that means you will have a loss, that is prices will decrease. Now you would want to keep bonds in places where duration is smaller or where duration is shorter. And where is the duration shorter? Duration is shorter for shorter maturity bond. So that means you should invest more into shorter maturity bonds. If you expect yield to increase, yield to decrease, then that means you will be having gains. And when you are having gains, then in that case you would want to be exposed to longer duration. And where do you have longer duration and longer maturity? So you will invest in longer maturity. Best bond is the one which has highest forward yield minus forecast yield multiplied by duration horizon. That gives you the best impact on portfolio. What is the impact on portfolio? Impact on portfolio is change in yield multiplied by duration. So best portfolio would be the one that would give you the highest difference between forward yield and forecast yield multiplied by duration. If there is a bond that is giving you higher yield change here, but the duration is lower, then that is of no use. If it is giving you lower here but duration is higher, that might be of greater use. So total return is approximately equal to -1 into ending effective duration multiplied by ending YTM minus beginning YTM plus beginning YTM. So this is something that you will get beginning YTM. In addition to that you will either have a loss or gain from changes in YTM. And what is that change? That is the change in YTM multiplied by duration. And why multiplying it by 1? Because if this change is positive, then overall impact on portfolio will be negative. If yield is decreasing, then overall portfolio will be higher. This is duration positioning in anticipation of parallel upward shift in yield curve. So far we have talked about parallel upward shift. Portfolio positioning in anticipation of a change in interest rate when your direction is uncertain. You do not know where would it change, whether it would go high or it will go lower. In that case, what should you do? So you do not know whether it will go up or it will go down, but this uncertainty, but you know it will change. That means you are uncertain about direction, but you know it will change. That means you have higher volatility. This means the expectation is higher for volatility. It can go up or it can go down. Volatility is higher. And when volatility is higher, what do? You add convexity. So in this case, you will add convexity. But remember, convexity will reduce the yield. So you will need to see whether the benefit of adding convexity will outweigh reduction in yield or not. If it outweighs that, then add convexity. If it does not, then you do not add convexity. Moving further, performance of duration neutral bullets, barbells and butterflies given a change in the yield curve. So now whatever we have been discussing, this will become further clear and will be applied here in this section. So in this section, we have two types of portfolios, bullet and barbell. And now we are analyzing that which portfolio would be better in which scenario, or how will these portfolios react to different scenarios. So how do we do that? So this B is your bullet portfolio and AC is your barbell portfolio. Barbell portfolio is the one that has A as well as C, and bullet portfolio is the one that has B. Clear? Any confusion? So first scenario is parallel downward shift in yield curve. Your yield curve is going down. So what would happen? So if yield curve is going down, that means prices will increase. So where would prices increase more? So price at C will increase the most. That means highest return. Why? Because duration is highest. At A, price will increase with a lower amount, and at V, something in between. So overall, if I look into it, A, C together will outperform B. That means in this scenario, barbell is better. If there is a parallel downward shift, barbell is better. Why? Because A, C together will outperform B. So AC has higher convexity compared to B. Therefore, AC will outperform B in downward shift. C will outperform B, and A and C together will outperform B. That is the assumption. Uh, Obviously, this A can be here or this C can be here and B. So in that case, maybe in some scenario B outperforms AC. But generally, if I take it at lower end and highest end and middle end, then AC will outperform B. So barbell will be better in this case. Also, another thing to look at is that whenever there is a movement, higher convexity portfolios perform better. And AC seems to have higher convexity. Why? Because AC has convexity higher curve, while B have a flatter area or flatter curve. So as AC have higher curve, then this means it has higher convexity, and if it has higher convexity and movement of curve, this will outperform portfolio with lower convexity. That is first scenario. Another scenario could be, so you should be able to identify what is the right strategy in which scenario. So this is important. Make sure you know these concepts. This is very technical, but very important at the same point. Flattening of yield curve. So how yield curve flattens? This is your initial yield curve. Now this is flattening. That is, at short end it increased, at long end it did not increase. If it increased at short end, that means your portfolio will go down, right? Your price will go down. But this impact will be very small. Why? Because duration at A is very, very small. So as duration is very small, although this is a large change, but your overall total return impact will be very low or approximately negligible. Why? Because duration is approximately negligible. And remember that we discussed this equation, that it does not only depend on change in yield, it also depends on duration. If duration is 0, then no matter how the change in yield is, how much, the overall impact will be 0. So this impact will be very negligible. So that means no loss or gain here. At B, yield is increasing, so price will fall. At C, no change in yield. If change in yield is 0, no matter what the duration is, your loss or gain will be 0. So no change. So that means again A and C together will outperform B. So portfolio B falls while portfolio AC will remain stable. Why stable? Because duration here is 0. So overall change in price is 0. Here change in yield is 0. So overall again change in price is 0. If one of these is 0, then overall change in price will be 0. Any confusion in this? Moving on, another scenario, flattening yield curve. So we did flattening yield curve here. Here what was happening? Short rates increased, but long rates did not change. Here short rate, here again flattening, but flattening in a different way. That is increase in short rate and decrease in long rate. Increase in short rate, that means price should fall. Price should fall, yes, but duration is 0. That means no change in price. So no impact here. No change in yield. That means no change in price. Here yield declines. Is it declining? Or yeah, it is declining. So here yield declines. That means increase in price. That means A and C will outperform bulleted portfolio. Yield curve steepens, short and intermediate rates fall. So yield curve is steepening. How? Long rate is same. At short end and middle end, the rates has fallen. No change. Why no change? Price should increase, but duration is 0, so no change. B, yield is decreasing, price should increase. No change. So that means B will outperform AC. So based on the scenario, you should be able to decide that what will be the overall impact. Key points to remember are that barbell portfolios generally outperform bullet portfolios if yield curve flattens. Bullet portfolios generally outperform barbell portfolios if yield curve steepens, as you saw here and here. And then there is a case study, there is a case in curriculum, that is Haskell Capital Management. Just go through it. That is a detailed example applying all these concepts. So this is about bullets and barbells. That is performance of duration neutral bullets, barbells and butterflies given a change in the yield curve. Now another case could be of butterflies. What is butterfly? It is a combination of barbell and bullet portfolio that combines a bullet and barbell portfolio. So what does it do? Either take a long position in barbell and short in bullet, or short in barbell or long in bullet. Like for example, long in barbell would mean buy short maturity and high maturity, long maturity, and short position in bullet would mean short intermediate maturity bond. So this will be a butterfly. That is, you have taken long exposure here, and you have taken short exposure in bullet. Or you can take long exposure in bullet and take short exposure in barbell. Both are types of butterflies. This structure is known as butterfly. It is a combination of barbell, this is barbell, and this is bullet. Weights are selected so that position is money duration neutral. That is, there is no impact in parallel yield curve shift. That is, duration of these two longs offset the duration of this short. So net effect will be 0. If yield is increasing, you will lose out here. If yield is increasing, you will lose out here, but you will gain here. Why? Because you have an opposite position, short position. So overall impact will be 0. Now within butterflies, you can have different structure. You can have a structure with long wings and short body. What does it mean? That your exposure to barbell is higher, but these are the wings, but your exposure to body is lower. That is, exposure to bullet is lower. That is here. Or you can have short wings and long body. That means exposure here is lower and exposure here is higher. So if I tell you that your exposure at short and long end is higher and exposure at center is lower, that means your curve would have a higher curvature, or your returns curve would have a higher curvature. So that means this has higher convexity. So when a portfolio has higher convexity, when does it benefit? It benefits from flattening of yield curve, and it will generate more profit in volatile environment. Why? Because convexity benefits you when the yield curve environment is volatile. If it is stable, then convexity will not benefit you. And if there are short wings and long body, that means it is like selling convexity. And if it is selling convexity, that means it benefits in yield curve when yield curve is stable or steepening. Otherwise, it will lose out. Any confusion so far? This is very, very important. Make sure that you remember these concepts. Most common ways of structuring portfolio weights. So how do you structure portfolio weights? How do you decide how much weight to give to any of the portfolio? Simply, there can be simple method that you can use. For example, you can make it duration neutral. You can allocate weights in such a way that it becomes duration neutral. That is, some weight here, some here, some here, but overall it becomes duration neutral. Or another way is, you again make it kind of duration neutral but with a different strategy. That is, you give a weight to short body and you allocate 50% weight to 50% duration to long and short end. That is each wing. That is, half duration to offset this comes from here, and half of the duration to offset this impact comes from long. Or regression weighting. That is, you can check the relationships of different yields and different returns over the past, and based on that you can decide what weights would give you the best possible outcome. Moving on, there is a concept of condor. What is condor? So if I mix up two butterfly, that is known as condor. So this is a condor that have four position trait: one long, one short, short, another long. So this is known as condor. So if I'm remember, if you mix up two butterfly and you take four positions, then that is known as a condor. Moving on, so this was the second one. So we are still on performance of duration neutral bullets, barbells, and butterflies given a change in yield curve. We have done bullets and barbells. We have done butterflies, and now we are moving on to using options. Why would you use options? So one of the key reasons we discussed was that options can help increase the convexity or add convexity. This can give higher returns. When would convexity benefit you? Convexity, what is the benefit? Benefit is convexity will give you higher return when interest rates are declining, and it will give you lower losses when interest rates are increasing. However, what is the drawback? Drawback is if interest rates remain stable, then you will be losing out yield because yield will be low. Changing convexity using securities and embedded options. How can you change convexity? You can change convexity using options, or an alternative would be that instead of buying or selling option directly, you can use callable bonds, or another option can be that you use mortgage backed securities. So you can either sell options or buy MBS to reduce convexity, or you can buy options and sell MBS to increase or add convexity. A portfolio manager will sell convexity when yield curve is expected to remain stable and would buy it if yield curve is expected to move. Mortgage-backed securities have higher return in a stable environment compared to treasury securities, but lower return if interest rate changes. And this is similar to the concept that we have been discussing about convexity. That means it can help you take exposure to convexity. Why is that? And why does this trend happen? Because if interest rates are increasing, prepayments are low. What are prepayments? Prepayments are if someone has borrowed from you and if interest rate declines in the market, he can borrow at a lower rate and pay the amount earlier than expected or earlier than required. So there are lower prepayments if interest rates increase. That means life for MBS is higher, and if life is longer, that means duration is higher, and if duration is higher, that means it is more sensitive to interest rate rise. So if interest rate is rising, your loss will be uh, it is more sensitive to interest rate rise. That means your loss will be uh, higher. Decline in interest rate, higher prepayments. Higher prepayments result in shorter life of MBS. Shorter life of MBS results in lower duration, and lower duration means less sensitive to interest rate decline. MBS versus strategy. Here is a graph that shows you total return characteristics of MBS versus treasury. So I think this is your MBS, this solid line, and this dotted line is your treasury. So if you look into the total return, you will see that MBS have some convexity. So MBS have convexity compared to treasury gov. And this is total return difference. That is how does total return change with change in rate. If there is no change in rate, the difference is approximately, the return difference is approximately 0.2 if there is no change. If rates decline, this is the difference, and if rates increase, this is the difference. That is the difference between treasury yield and uh, difference between treasury yield and the mortgage backed security, that is MBS. So this is about this section. Moving on to next section, that is comparing the performance of various duration neutral portfolios in multiple curve environments. Starting with baseline portfolio is a laddered portfolio. So you have a laddered portfolio that has this duration, this maturity, this price, maturity, coupon, market value, and all that. This is your base case or baseline portfolio. Now we will see the impact on this portfolio in different scenarios. So starting with yield curve scenarios. So moving on to next, here again you have nominal coupon maturity, yield to maturity, factor duration. So this is first scenario in which this is your maturity years. This is the starting yield, and this is the maturity. This is the starting yield, and a scenario can be that there is a minus 100 shift, or a scenario can be there is a plus 100 shift. So your yield will have an impact with minus 100 or plus 100 shift, that is minus 1% or plus 1% shift. And in this case we are assuming that there is a floor of 1 bip, that is your yield cannot go below 1 bip, that is yield should at least be 1 bip. So if you look into it, this is your starting yield, that is for different maturities, this is your starting yield. A parallel shift of minus 100 would mean minus 1%, and that would mean this yield minus 1%. So this yield would minus 1% would mean this new yield. Why is, if I subtract 0.96 minus 1% from 0.964%, that would give me a negative answer, and that means that is going below 1 bip. So if yield is going below 1 bip, I will keep 1 bip because I have placed a floor at 1 bip. So what we are simply doing here is we are just subtracting minus 1% from all the. So this is the scenario that you can get. This is one scenario. Another scenario can be parallel plus 100. Another scenario can be flatter. Another scenario can be steeper, less curvature, or more curvature. So these are different scenarios that we can have. Now we will discuss that how will different kind of portfolios reflect to respond to different kind of scenarios. So first, comparing extreme barbell versus ladder portfolio. Scenarios are clear, right? Simple scenarios. This is a parallel downward shift, parallel upward shift, flatter, steeper curve, less curvature, and more curvature. So extreme barbell versus ladder portfolio. Portfolio with higher convexity will outperform parallel yield curve move. So when yield curve moves, which portfolio outperform? The portfolio with higher convexity outperform. And which portfolio among these two have higher convexity? Barbell has higher convexity because it has more allocation towards short and long end and lower allocation towards medium end. So it would have higher curve compared to the laddered portfolio that have almost same maturity, same allocation to all the maturities. So extreme barbell would have more convexity, and it has more, as it has more convexity, it will outperform parallel yield curve move. The return differential will be even higher if yield curve shape changes. If shape changes or curvature changes, then this convexity benefit will be even higher. Use this strategy if you expect the yield curve will not steepen or lose curvature. Why? Because if yield curve loses curvature or if yield curve steepens, then in that case convexity will not give you benefit. In that case your extreme barbell will underperform. Otherwise it will outperform. And here they have shown you use in this example that what is the return and what is the return difference. The return of two portfolios, that is extreme barbell and benchmark, and the return difference. So if you look into it, then minus 100 plus 100 flatter, you are having a higher return from extreme barbell, and this return is even higher if curvature is changing, that is it is getting flatter. But if it is getting steeper or if its curvature is losing out, is decreasing, then you have lower return compared to benchmark. But if curvature is increasing, again higher return. So this is something that we have been discussing since the start. This has been summarized into this example. That is, extreme barbell will outperform laddered portfolio in these situations. Why? Because it would have higher convexity. It will underperform because it would have in these two situations. Why? Because it has higher convexity. Any confusion in this? Remember this, it is very important. Moving on, another type, extreme bullet. if you expect yield curve to lose curvature, when would extreme bullet be useful? It will be useful in those cases where extreme barbell is losing out. So if you expect yield curve to lose curvature, then bulleted portfolio structure is better. For parallel shifts in yield curve, it has lack of convexity. As it has lack of convexity compared to barbell, it will lag behind the benchmark return. Its return will be lower. Why? Because if its convexity is lower. Lags barbell portfolio in yield curve flattening again. Why? Because it has lower convexity. As it has lower convexity, it will underperform the barbell portfolio in flattening environment. Performs well if yield curve steepens. So if yield curve is steepening or losing out, barbell portfolio will underperform, but bullet will outperform. Why? Because bullet has lower convexity. So in these scenarios where extreme barbell outperform, in those scenarios bullet will underperform. Why would it underperform? Because it has lower convexity. But in scenarios where extreme barbell underperform, bullet will outperform because it has lower convexity. So you should know that in which environment which portfolio will be better or which portfolio will outperform or underperform. Moving on, a less extreme barbell portfolio versus laddered portfolio. It produces a profile much closer to the original benchmark portfolio in terms of yield, effective duration, and effective convexity. So it would have convexity, but the convexity will be lower. Magnitude of convexity will be lower. Why? Because it is less extreme. That is, you still have a barbell portfolio, but it is less extreme. That is, its convexity is lower. And if you keep that approach, it will somewhat be similar to laddered portfolio. How? So if I tell you this is your laddered portfolio, and I tell you this is your less extreme barbell, then approximately both are very similar. But if I take extreme barbell, it will be very different. If I take it like this, it will be very different from laddered portfolio. But if I reduce the intensity, or if I take less extreme barbell, it will give me similar results as laddered portfolio. Comparing the extreme and less extreme barbell portfolio. So extreme barbell portfolio would have higher convexity, less extreme would have lower convexity. As expected, given its greater convexity, extreme barbell outperforms the less extreme barbell slightly in parallel shift. If yield curve flattens, extreme barbell will outperform. Why? Because it has higher convexity. If yield curve steepens, extreme barbell will underperform. Why? Because it has higher convexity. Under the curvature scenarios, if there is more curvature, extreme barbell will outperform. If there is less curvature, extreme barbell will underperform. If curvature increases, extreme barbell will outperform. So that means if you know the relation of convexity with all these scenarios, then you should be able to find out which portfolio will outperform or which will underperform. You know that if convexity is higher, then parallel shift outperform, flattening outperform, steepening underperform, less curvature underperform, more curvature outperform, decreased rate volatility underperform, and increased rate volatility outperform. So you know that how convexity is related to all of these, and if you know the impact of convexity on all of these different scenarios, and you also know that convexity for barbell is higher and convexity for bullet is lower, then you should be able to analyze the impact on barbell and bullet portfolio in all of these scenarios. So on top of it, it looks very difficult to remember, but I don't think there is anything that you need to remember. If you conceptually know it, you should be able to find it out easily. Moving on, framework for evaluating yield curve trades. So how do you evaluate yield curve trade? You evaluate yield curve trades based on expected return. What is expected return? It includes yield income, roll down return, expected change in price based on investors' views, minus expected credit losses plus expected currency gains or losses. So this is how you calculate expected return. This equation also came in previous readings. And you can break down the overall return into these different types of return. So it is not only yield income, it is not only roll down, It is not only change in price that is impacting your total return or expected return. There are many factors that impact your expected return. It can be your views about the future movement. Why? Because you will be taking positions or using strategies based on selecting strategies based on your views about the future movement. That would again have an impact on your return. Yield and roll down are basic, but then you have many other. There can be losses, credit losses. So your borrower can default. If you are investing into a different currency, there can be currency gains or losses as well. So this is very basic that you have so far learned in level 1 and 2 now, but now you know that there are other components as well to this return. And then again there is an example in curriculum for Victoria Lim and Lemon Cranston, two examples. So practice these examples because they apply the overall concept into the example. So as long as you know the concept, you should be able to do it. Again, summarizing it, the main theme of the whole reading was convexity. There are many other topics as well, but the most important one in the reading was convexity. You know that barbell portfolio have higher convexity, bullet portfolio has lower convexity. You also know that convexity can be increased by using options or decreased using options, and you also know that alternatives to options can be callable bonds and MBS. That means MBS and callable bonds can be used to change or alter the convexity. Then you know if convexity is high, then you will benefit or outperform in yield curve shift, parallel shift, whether is it positive or negative. You know that you will outperform in yield curve flattening. You know that you will outperform when curvature increases. And if convexity is, and you know that you will outperform if volatility is increasing. But when convexity is lower, you will only outperform. When convexity is lower, you will only outperform when, or mostly outperform when yield curve steepens or when curvature reduces. So if yield curve steepens or curvature reduces, you will outperform. So this is it about the